Welcome back, everyone. Time to do another comparison this time around between the newly released iPhone 12 Pro Max and the somewhat older iPhone XS Max. Now, both these phones obviously are kind of related in a way. The iPhone 11 Pro Max is the newer model of the XS Max, and there's a lot to love here. And I'll definitely tell you, if you have all the money in the world, then definitely getting the iPhone 11 Pro Max is the better way to go. It's a newer phone, it's going to be lasting longer than the iPhone XS Max. There's just a lot of capability between these two phones. But the XS Max I think is still really good for the price. I mean, this phone costs $1099. This phone you can pick up for probably around $500 in a lot of places. So I'll find the cheapest ones of both these, link them down in the description below. You can get them from there and help support the channel at the same time. Now looking on the front of the iPhone XS Max before that, side by side, you can kind of see that the XS Max is pretty much smaller than the iPhone 12 Pro Max in every dimension. It kind of seems a little less wide though. This XS Max feels a little bit, more heavier to hold in a way because we do have the flat sides on the 12 Pro Max. But on the front of the XS Max, we have that 6.5-inch panel, and it's a really good panel as you guys can see. I mean, you have that notch, which is pretty much the same exact thing on pretty much all the other iPhones right now. You have that curved design on the side where the iPhone 12 Pro Max has the flat side. Some people may prefer this, some people may prefer this, but the overall size of the phone is pretty big, and so was the 12 Pro Max with its 6.7-inch panel. And it's a definitely high resolution. It's a bigger panel. It doesn't necessarily feel too much bigger than the XS Max. Because of the flat sides, it does make it a little bit easier to hold. So when you hold them side by side, it doesn't really feel like you're holding that much bigger of a phone. Also, I will be honest though, the flat sides does make it a little bit harder to hold, but in terms of the size, it feels about the same in terms of the thickness between the two. As you can see, the iPhone XS Max is, I feel like, a little bit thicker. Actually, I don't know. Maybe the 12 Pro Max is thinner, but they're both very, very close in the hand. And on the back, you can see triple camera setup with the LiDAR sensor on the iPhone 12 Pro Max, dual camera setup on the iPhone XS Max, frosted glass back on the 12 Pro Max, and that standard glass back, which I have a skin over on the XS Max. Now, IP certification on both, wireless charging on both phones as well, but the iPhone 12 Pro Max does have that MagSafe capability, which is really cool. The XS Max doesn't have anything like that. So in terms of the outside, that really pretty much covers it up. In terms of the software, it's a pretty easy comparison. I mean, the XS Max is 2 years older, so theoretically the XS Max should last 2 years less than the 12 Pro Max, but time will tell. But I will tell you, if you want the longest lasting phone, the 12 Pro Max is the better way to go, but the XS Max still has a lot of capability behind it, and like I said before, it's kind of like a no-brainer. When it comes down to these things, getting the XS Max may be a better deal for you, but it may also, not last as long as the 12 Pro Max, so that's something to keep in mind. But the software features and everything are pretty much exactly the same on both. So in terms of that pretty much covers it up. Let's go into a speed test between these two. The iPhone XS Max has that Apple A12 Bionic chip inside of it with 4 GB of RAM. The iPhone 12 Pro Max has that Apple A14 Bionic chip inside of it with 6 GB of RAM. So let's go see which one is the faster one between both of these. Okay, now that we're back, let's go and clear all the apps in the background, and the XS Max is totally cleared out. The 12 Pro Max is going to take a minute. Okay, we're good. Let's load up the App Store. 3, 2, 1. And you can see the 12 Pro Max was way faster. The XS Max was a little bit slower. Did I call this the 11 Pro? I meant to call this the 12 Pro Max. Scrolling speeds seem about the same. Even in real life, I don't see a big difference at all. Phone calls 3, 2, 1. I think the 12 Pro Max was faster. And we can go and start loading up these third-party apps right here. Let's do Fruit Ninja. 3, 2, 1. And one of them has a volume on. I think it's the XS Max. Let me go and turn this down. Okay, there we go. And I mean, you can see. Wait, is it this one? There we go. As you can see, the XS Max was noticeably slower than the 12 Pro Max for sure. Let's do Facebook. 3, 2, 1. 12 Pro Max way faster. The XS Max way behind. And the 12 Pro Max is on the left. The XS Max is on the right. Let's do Twitter. 3, 2, 1. And the 12 Pro Max yet again is faster. The XS Max shortly behind. Instagram. 3, 2, 1. Have a account login here, so that's something to keep in mind. But still faster on the 12 Pro Max, I would assume. Snapchat, which I don't have. Paper.io 2. 3, 2, 1. The 12 Pro Max is faster. XS Max shortly behind. Let's get into some gameplay and see if there's a difference. And the sunlight is going down, so it's going to be affected by the sunlight a little bit, but I think both are pretty much the same. Let's do Road Racing 3. 3, 2, 1. And there may be, okay, the 12 Pro Max is loaded. I'm pretty sure the XS Max is probably still going to still have to download or something like that. I'm not too sure. Hopefully it doesn't, so then kind of makes this a little bit better. and it finally did load. So that was a pretty big difference in my opinion. I mean, you guys saw the 12 Pro Max was definitely way ahead of the iPhone XS Max, even in that just quick little comparison. Temple Run 2, 3, 2, 1. And the 12 Pro Max seems to be way faster than the XS Max. And again, there's 2 years of development between these two. This one came out in 2018. This one came out in 2020, just right now. And you can see again, the 12 Pro Max was way ahead of the XS Max, getting into a little bit of the gameplay. Again, you'll probably end up seeing that the 12 Pro Max is going to be faster here. And it's expected. I want it to be faster because, it's a newer phone and I spend more money on it. Let's go to the next one. BOFA, 3, 2, 1. And 12 Pro Max was faster. XS Max way behind it for sure. That was a pretty basic app too. We can do Quizlet, 3, 2, 1. Way faster on the 12 Pro Max. Surely behind on the XS Max. Netflix, 3, 2, 1. And again, pretty much faster on the 12 Pro Max. Not as evident. Snake versus Block, 3, 2, 1. And again, XS Max is faster, or 12 Pro Max is faster. XS Max way behind it. Can need to some gameplay. And pretty sure they're going to be about the same. It did glitch up a little bit more on this phone though. That was kind of funny. Stack, 3, 2, 1. Again, faster on the 12 Pro Max. XS Max really behind. But we can go and end it off with Thank You, 3, 2, 1. And as you guys can see, the 12 Pro Max was faster. XS Max is pretty much behind. Now, as expected, I mean, I knew the 12 Pro Max was going to be the faster one between these two, but what I was mostly satisfied and more focused on was how much faster, you know what I mean? And is it worth the money? Now, the 12 Pro Max is about twice the price of the 10s Max, and I don't think it's twice as the better performance. Definitely it's better in performance for sure. That's not even a debatable thing. Sometimes there's been cases where sometimes the phone may be a little bit faster here and there, and sometimes it'll flip-flop. That doesn't seem to be the case between these two phones. Both phones are pretty much where they should be. The 12 Pro Max is the faster one. The XS Max is surely behind, and I'll definitely tell you in terms of speed, the 12 Pro Max is faster, but don't think I would upgrade from a 12 Pro Max to an iPhone XS Max or vice versa, 10s Max to a 12 Pro Max, just based off the speed in my opinion. But that really pretty much covers it up in the speed comparison. Let's go and hit on the cameras. As stated before, triple camera setup with a LiDAR sensor on the iPhone 12 Pro Max, 12 megapixel wide, 12 megapixel tele, 12 megapixel ultra wide as well. The XS Max has a dual camera setup, 12 megapixel wide and 12 megapixel telephoto lens. And like I've said before, with the iPhone XS camera, it's always been pretty good. Anytime I've ever done anything with this camera, it's been a solid camera for the most part. It does everything I need it to. Anything I throw at it, it does the job. And it's definitely not the best camera ever, and it still has a lot of things it can improve on. But I think for the most part, for a 2020, comparison of a 2018 phone, it's really not that bad. And I would definitely say if you have this camera, I don't really think you're missing out on too much in my opinion. But as expected, the iPhone 12 Pro Max is going to get you the better performance overall in terms of the camera. You have that additional ultra-wide sensor, which is huge, and I actually do prefer an ultra-wide sensor more than I like that telephoto lens in my opinion. But on top of that, you're getting that LiDAR sensor, which is cool. You're also getting the ability of shooting 4K at 60 on the front of the iPhone 12 Pro Max, and in my opinion, that's a pretty big difference. I want to have that ability. On the XS Max, you don't have that ability, which kind of does suck in a way. So in the 12 Pro Max, it actually kind of wins in this specific example in the camera, mostly because of the front camera, but also because of that ultra-wide sensor as well. Now, ending it off with the battery life, I will 100% tell you the 12 Pro Max is going to get you the better battery life than the XS Max, especially on iOS 14. I've been having a lot of problems with both these devices on iOS 14, to be honest, since the 12 Pro Max came out with it. But I still think the XS Max is probably going to get you a lower battery life than the 12 Pro Max, but I'll go ahead and do a full battery comparison at some point, like I did with the 12 Pro, so it makes it a little bit easier to kind of manage and all that stuff. But to kind of sum up this video and to answer the question, should you pick up the iPhone 12 Pro Max, should you pick up the iPhone XS Max, what I can tell you is that starting with the XS Max, I think it's still a pretty decent phone for the most part. I don't think it's perfect. There's a lot of problems with this phone right now, but all those problems can pretty much be fixed. I think the biggest caveat to the iPhone XS Max right now is probably the battery life. Especially on iOS 14, it really hasn't done it any favors, if I can be completely honest. I feel like it's taken a big toll on the battery life, but everything else, the best thing about it is that for the next couple of years, the XS Max and the 12 Pro Max are going to be getting pretty much the exact same software updates, and that is an insanely important thing to note. When you have a phone that's going to be lasting pretty much for the next couple of years, just as many updates as the iPhone 12 Pro Max, that's pretty important. But the 12 Pro Max is the better phone here. You're getting a bigger and better display, a better camera setup, longer software support, better performance, everything. I mean, better battery life. IP certification is technically a little bit better on the 12 Pro Max as well. Storage variants are higher on the 12 Pro Max, and there's a lot to love on this phone. But I'll definitely tell you, if you have an iPhone XS Max, I don't really think there's a pressing reason to go to the 12 Pro Max right now. But if you want, I would say go for it. I think it's a pretty worthwhile upgrade. I think going from the XS Max to the 11 Pro Max is also a really good upgrade as well. That is probably a better phone in some cases. You're getting a better value because it's cheaper, but also you're getting a bigger battery than the 12 Pro Max on the 11 Pro Max, which is pretty crazy. And I already did a full comparison between those two, so you can go back and look at that video if you want to. But I'll definitely tell you, if you have a XS Max, 100%. I would recommend going to the 11 Pro Max in my opinion. If you have the money, go for the 12 Pro Max, but I think the XS Max, if you can make it last for like another year or two, 100% keep it. I mean, it's not really that bad of a phone, but the problems that I do have with the XS Max, including the battery life, are pretty much fixed with the 12 Pro Max in my opinion. So that really pretty much covers it up. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys can hit that. Also, check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my other channels. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video.